he used to do a Staffy students rugby match on the day of the Immac. Then one year, it was really bad weather. That's what the report said. Like a little A4 sheet. It was really bad weather. So they all gathered in the gym, which is the theatre as we know it now, and they all performed Latin plays to celebrate Immaculate. Hey, hello, welcome back to Ratcliffe Rambles podcast. And today we've got a very special episode for you, all about the Immaculate Conception. So I'm joined with
Paul Michel,
Francis, lay chaplain.
Mr. Gould, religious studies teacher.
Thea. So to start off, I want to ask you, Miss Michel, what is the Immaculate Conception to you?
Well, to me, the Immaculate Conception is the birth of Mary free from original sin, which is to say, by a special grace, if I may have a nod to Mr. Gould here, by a special grace of God, Mary was redeemed from the original sin that we are redeemed from through Christ. She was redeemed prior to his birth and, of course, life and death.
I think some people often as well get confused and they hear Immaculate Conception and they think it's when Mary was told she was going to have Jesus. But like Mr. Michel said, it's actually about Mary's conception herself. So sometimes it can get a little bit confusing, but hopefully we know that well here at school because we talk about it and celebrate it every year.
Yeah. So how at Ratcliffe do we celebrate Immac? Or how's Immac done at Ratcliffe?
Right. Well, I was first employed at Ratcliffe, 2010, 2011, something like that. It's always been the same. It's always been the same celebration. So the feast itself is on the 8th of December, and of course we'll have a great college feast. And I'll come back to this point if you don't mind, because Ratcliffe College was, in fact, first named the College of the Immaculate Conception at Ratcliffe on the Reek. So we are the College of the Immaculate Conception. So it's our college feast. And on the 8th of December, we celebrate that great feast and with a college mass. But also then there are a series of balls at which the students and the staff participate. I think we're breaking up into 3 these days, is it? 6, 4... Or is it 11 to
4? And then year 7 have their own, don't they? And then 7 and 8.
So over a number of nights during that week, there'll be a special meal in the ref, a disco, and a lot of fun. So it really is a celebration. It's a great celebration.
Yeah, and the prep school as well. They'll have their own Immac Mass as well. This coming Friday actually, and then they have Immac Disco as well in the afternoon before they go home. And I always remember when I was looking for my job here and I saw advertising, I was doing a bit of research into Ratcliffe. I spoke to a priest called Father Jonathan Cotton, who actually came here as a boy as well to Ratcliffe. And the first thing he spoke about when he told me about Ratcliffe was the Immac celebrations. And he said we had mass and we had a meal and we were allowed to have a bottle of beer. And he was like telling me all about it. It was the first thing he mentioned when he told me about Ratcliffe.
Yeah, we do all really enjoy the Ratcliffe Immac. All the students do. I've always liked it since year 7.
It's a great link. I mean, for me, if you like, that notion of Mary as the vessel for redemption. I mean, some people call it the co-redemptrix, which is it's a disputed point, but some people will call it that. It's the fact that we are the College of the Immaculate Conception. It is very much part of our history. That is. Blessed Antonio Rosmini, wanted this college here in England as part of the re-evangelization of England. So that notion of giving birth to Catholicism sort of again in this country is a very proud one. I mean, it was quite a time with the liberation year, the emancipation of Catholics. 1830, I think it was it 1829? I think 1829 in this country. And there was a lot of interest from over in Europe, a lot of interest in bringing Catholicism back to the place. And this area, the Delisle family, the Arundel family, Grace Dew, this area, was quite a hub. Cardinal John Henry Newman, he was from around these parts. So it's, that notion of us giving birth again to Catholicism in the country. It's quite a proud thing. I like it. I like it a lot.
The Catholic nature of the doctrine. This is something that non-Catholics will often talk about, the nature of papal infallibility, the idea that the Pope can speak without error. And that's something that the Pope can do on only doctrinal matters. And it was only established relatively late on in the Church's history officially. But it's worth saying that the idea of the Immaculate Conception is not a modern church invention. It's something that goes right back to the early church fathers in the early centuries of the church, that we're talking about how Mary was and is special in the life of the church and has this special grace from God. And of course, this is something that we remember every time we say the Hail Mary, full of grace. So just tying in the three pillars of the Catholic Church, magisterium, so the teaching authority of the church, apostolic tradition, so what the church fathers and other thinkers in the church have passed on throughout the church's history, but linked back to scripture. So you'll find obviously the Hail Mary found in Luke's gospel, so this stretches right back to sacred scripture and is eventually unearthed by the church, which is the importance of the church, really.
Yeah. Father Philip, certainly over the last 5 or 6 years, he's been Father President the last 5 or 6 years, perhaps 6 or 7 years, I'm not sure. He's always at great pains to talk about the doctrine and actually to talk about Antonio Rosmini's presence in bringing that forth, as you say, unearthing it. That's a lovely phrase that Mr. Gould used. We'll have the hymns, Immaculate Mary, one of my faves.
And we process in with Mary. So Thea, you'll know that because we've been practicing, haven't we?
Yes.
So traditionally the Caritas prefects at the Mass, at the start of Mass, as we sing Immaculate Mary, process in holding a large statue of Mary, and that's happened for many, many years, tradition. And there was quite a lot of chat, wasn't there, Thea, and debate who was going to do it, how they were going to carry it and do it right. And so we all met yesterday in the chapel. We practiced with Father Philip because it's a big thing. And also you've got to get up the stairs, go round, decide where you're going to put Mary. So it's very special. And it's a tradition that's been upheld. And Father Philip, often rightly so, takes it very seriously and wants to get it just right.
Yeah. I think, well, not me, but my teacher, Mr. Listman, was looking into the old Immac. So I think it was in 1955. He used to have staff for students rugby match on the day of the Immac. Then one year, it was really bad weather. That's what the report said. Like a little A4 sheet. It said it was really bad weather.
Yeah.
So they all gathered in the gym, which is the theatre as we know it now, and they all performed Latin plays to celebrate Immaculate Mary.
What year was that?
1955, I think it was.
Should call up Father Ted. Actually, that would be something to do. Pull in Ted and Father Philip. Maybe even, I tell you who'd be great, Father Simon Giles. I think he's down at Guildford, but he was the rugby master here for years and years, and here as a boy, as was Father Ted, as was Father Philip. So you should pull them in actually and say, right, give us some of the stories. But actually, speaking of the procession, I mean that statue of Mary that sits in the corridor. The corridor.
Oh, the staff room, yeah.
That's right. That had been there for years and years and years, and that was processed around the school. I think Father the Italian Father. Belsito, that's right, Antonio Belsito. I think he used to gather the Italian community, local Italian community, about 10 years ago, around, and they'd have a great big procession on the feast as well. Yeah, so look, there you go. You'd unearth from each generation. Yeah, sure. There are so many different ways of celebrating it. Yeah. What is Mary in your life? What's Mary in your life of prayer, Mr. Gould?
So my students have suffered quite a few lectures on this recently. Mary is a model for the church. So look at Mary and think about how we can act. And we are active in salvation, not passive. So while Christ is the Son of God and offers us salvation through his sacrifice, it's not that we're waiting for that to happen. We're active members in that. And so Mary's a model for that. She says yes, for example, to the angel Gabriel, and kickstarts it all with her obedience. So there's that first aspect that suggests of activity in the role of salvation. We've got a job to do. The second, perhaps if you went to the Ten Commandments, the first commandment about human beings' relationships with each other, honour your mother and father, that's above do not kill. And if you think about Mary's role as a mother, and again, it's something that non-Catholics often struggle with. How is it that we give God the Father, or title the Father? It's a way of imagining our relationship with God, but we think about Mary as mother of the church, and we think about those two aspects of honouring your mother and father. The Immaculate Conception gives Mary that role as mother of humanity. She's the new Eve, as it were, and perhaps gives us new insight into the importance of mothers right from the get-go in saying yes to life, which is perhaps a different podcast, but one I think for us to remember. But there we are.
I'm always part of the Lord's pilgrimage in the summer. I'm going to point at Thea again because you were one of the students that came this summer with us.
I went last year.
And I think so. I have always got a dedication and that kind of bond to all the Marian traditions and to Mary is really important. And I think that has really been fueled by taking young people to Lourdes each year in my various other jobs and other schools that I've worked in as well. And so I think it's quite special really that I'm now here at Ratcliffe and they have such a dedication to Mary and the Immac and all of those things. So it's quite special really and really nice. And I think we do often, it is something that we think about each year at school as staff members as well. And we think about how can we get that balance right of the fact that we are having, it's a religious event, it's a religious day and it's special. So we don't just want to think, oh, we've just got a disco. What other things are we doing as part of those celebrations to really think about what we are dedicating this feast day to?
Yeah.
And so hopefully we can get the balance right and we can keep tradition and things that have happened in the past, and then also think about new things that we can bring to, or bring back old things that have happened in the past, like you mentioned, Ben. But yeah, getting that balance just right. But it is special, and I think that's what makes this school and older traditional schools like here special, that you uphold those things that have happened for many, many years, and people then go off and talk about it and say, I remember when I was at Ratcliffe and we had our Immac celebrations and we did this and we did that, and that's really lovely, that is, and that's what makes the history of the school.
Yeah, I'm sure Thea can back me up. There's a lot of moments to look back at of the years before
Yeah,
Immac celebrations.
It's definitely worth remembering. Or worth going even, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for watching and listening to our Ratcliffe Rambles podcast. Please follow ratcliffe.rambles on Instagram for some more updates, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye.